Hello, it's Fran Davidson from psychicandenergywork.com.au. This is my fourth video my fifth, I think, about 2025 and its reality number. The reality number is the final big number in a chart, whether it's about a year, a person, a being, whatever. And it denotes the end states, the results, the outcomes we're due to arrive at. Not necessarily because we will, because of course everything's choice, and every choice that we make is influenced by our perspectives, and therefore what we're grounded in as an energy, as a guiding force, and even as a knowledge. That doesn't render anything that we know or sense or do irrelevant, but all is choice. And within that, of course, is the frequency we're tuning into, and therefore how we're offering out. So this is important because at this stage of the game, as in at this video, my objective is to highlight how 2128, 2025's reality number, passes through 13 on its way down to 4. Now, in itself, yep, all right, we can talk about that. But the reason I'm talking about this right now is the fact that this year's MO, the other aspect, or one of the other three aspects of the chart, is a 1034. So the fact that this year's reality number subtly passes through 13, that's going to reinforce all of the dynamics that come to the front in helping us achieve and learn and develop as this year's going to. Therefore, it pays, in a sense, to have a little bit more of a look at the energies 1, 3, and 4. So on one level, it is personal development. Hello, that's going on all the time, isn't it? But what I mean by that, therefore, it is that dynamic that asks us to look again at self. Yes, our self, the person's self, but also self as a dynamic on an energetic, on an influencing, and therefore even a channeled or reacting level. At the end of the day, broadly speaking, there are two levels of self, egoic and divine, or egoic and spiritual. Yeah, both are needed to help creation become all it is here to. Both are important mixes or elements in the mix called evolution. So it's not about killing either one off. And yet, of course, egoic self is a very limited view, and it doesn't matter how wide that view is. It's always got a limit around it. So that's not to criticize egoic self, because if we're doing that, we're too in the egoic level. Yeah? But it is about understanding egoic self, understanding the spectrum that one represents as a learning curve, as an informing device, as an informing event, as it's happening in the moment. So periods that have ones in them, and hello, every period has a one in it. Yeah, every chart has a one in it, especially right now in the shall we say, century? Is it century? Millennium, called 2000. Yeah. But one is very much lessons about self and selfness as it is playing through in any of us, in one of us, quite possibly in all of us at the same time, in any moment that life asks us to look at that again. So that can get a bit boring, can't it? We can get tired of having to look at ourselves. We can get tired of having to be the adult. We can get tired of being asked, look again, think deeper, care more, give more, even receive more. Sometimes we just want to goof off. But you see, this too is part of what this year is going to ask us to do, partly because 2025, the birth number, takes us through 5 in part. Partly because the reality number 2128 takes us through 8 in part, because both of those numbers speak of tensions building. They speak of, at certain times, life remaining full as a way of hot pokering us into the corner called look at what's happening, look at what you're doing, look at how you can mentor it, and therefore discover all that can be right now. Sometimes that's a delightful realization and discovery. At other times, it's a chore. So what I'm trying to highlight there is that no matter how good this year wants to be, and it does want to be good, in all of these videos and in all of the words that I use on the website in the observations about 2025 page, none of those words are just about saying this year is going to be a horrible time. It's not. There's lots of achievement, there's lots of joy, there's lots of good pluses and long-term pluses that we're all going to be encouraged by life to tap into and realise. And yet at moments, because the chart is what it is, it's going to ask us to stretch. And I've said that already on the website. I've said it already in other videos. But I suppose at this point, what I'm trying to highlight is it is often through the stretching that we actually get to our end place, isn't it? It's often by having to stretch that little bit further that we actually attain the very state we've been longing for. This year, because it's a 9, and even that is important because 9, yes, all right, 9 is the M phase, but you see, if we're talking cycle to cycle, and therefore we're talking about life as a continually unfolding process, when the individual comes to 7 or 8 in a period, which for all of us on a collective level happened in 2023, when we enter 7 or 8 in the 9-year cycle, we are entering into a transition phase that lasts actually not just for 3 years up until the end of the 9 phase, but actually for another 3 potentially into the 3-year of the new 9-year cycle, which for all of us on a collective level is going to be in the year 2028, 2029. So what I'm trying to highlight here is that we are all as a group, as a world, in now a transitioning phase. And we know that. You just need to look around, hello, for you, your life, but also everybody else's. There's so many unknowns. But you see, the period 7 or 8 in a numerological cycle, 2 to 2 or 3 in the next, it is a time when the unknown, where uncertainty, where ambiguity, lack of clarity, surety, sameness feature in a way that can rattle self, in a way that is there to turn self, in on its dialogues, its narratives, its projections, its models, so as to help it find those statements, those rules, those mores that are saying you can't have everything you know you can. You can't become everything you sense you're here to be. There's no way life's going to support you. So this transition period that is going to last until 2028 or so, it is a phase we're all going to be walking through on top of our own personal chart, in a very healthy, good way, enjoyable way, solid, affirming way, but also in a way that at times is going to rattle us. It's going to unnerve us. It's going to lead us into our pessimism, our poor me, our why me. And I suppose I say that, you're right for why I say it, but also to point out that we are all in this phase together. And therefore, so much of 2025's chart is about looking after one another, sharing in what we're experiencing, not as a way of being too open and therefore too vulnerable to the outside world, but also as a way of realizing we are a part of the outside world. And it is only through sharing, it is only by caring beyond ourselves, not because that's a bad thing. In other words, get out of your insularity. Get out of that sense of I am alone, isolated. I got to do it all by myself. The 1900s were the I period, the I, me, my period. And that doesn't mean that dynamic's over. It'll never be over. But you see, for 1,000 years, we learnt to think of ourselves more than anything else. We are only at the very beginning, the 20s, even though it's 2025 now. We have another, how many more years before we get to 3,000? So we are still at baby steps in becoming, in learning how to become, learning to get, learning to insist upon, learning how to deliver the inclusion that we all long for irrespective of where we long for it, why we long for it, or for what reason. And so 2025, through that 13-4 in the reality number, and therefore through the magnification of the how, 1034, that is the MO of this year's chart, it is through these things that we come to realize 3, understand 4, get in a way that we can really run with, we can really express. Now we've got the words for it. It's not just on the invisible level anymore. This year's here to sort of squeeze and very much help in all the ways a period can, so as to get us to our next best bits. So use those forces, know those dynamics, use these videos, the website, and of course everybody else's sharings that are out there to help you stay on path, to help each other and others stay on path. Don't allow oneness to lead you into isolation where you can no longer care for yourself, for other people, as equally as you do yourself. Travel well. I hope this helps. All the very best to you, and thank you so much for tuning in, and let me know, please, how all of this has come across. All the very best. See you soon. Take good care.